Right, guys, welcome back to the podcast. So on today's episode, we've got Kade Kendall, who is the owner of Transformation Unit here in Barrow-in-Furness. That's where I train. That's where I send a lot of my clients to train if they're training with me online. And that's also where I go down to get a session in if any clients come and visit. Incredible facility. Kade's got his own story as an athlete, but also getting people in shape. Also, we've got Leanne back. So we've got Leanne Haran. So Leanne's here because she's going to be asking Kade questions from the community. So I've obviously got an experience with regards living in and amongst bodybuilders, athletes, Gen Pop, and I've worked with a lot of people over the years. But also I want Leanne to come on and ask questions directly to Kade of kind of the things that go around. We all know that in this kind of influencer world, TikTok, Instagram, everyone's got these ideas. Kade's been there, he's done it, he's lived it. He's got the accolades to go with it, and he's also helped a lot of people getting into shape to do exactly the same. So hopefully we'll get some clarity on what's involved. So Kade, introduce yourself, mate. Absolute pleasure to have you on.
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me, Joe. It was I wasn't expecting it, so when you approached me, but yeah, it wasn't something I was going to turn down because respect goes both ways, and what you've done in the industry is just as respected as what you've said about me. So thanks for that. So yeah, I'm Kade. Obviously, same again, owner of Transformation Unit. Obviously competed in bodybuilding and sponsored with the food tech, going back to, I think my first bodybuilding show was when I was 22.
Long before it was sexy.
Yep, long before. Yeah, we'll go down that. Yeah, we'll go down that road. But yeah, but same again, you sound like the old guy, but I'm just grateful that I experienced bodybuilding for bodybuilding. And not to take anything away from it now, but there is a lot of it what's changed, and that's just time. I guess someone another 40 years from now will say the same about this period of time. So it is what it is. But we'll talk about it. We'll discuss it. I'll answer any questions we've got. But yeah, and then obviously went into my personal training, and then I was personal training and coaching people from the ages of 25, 26, and there we go from there.
Yeah, so you just PTing out of a normal gym.
PT, yeah, left a working class. My dad owned a roofing company.
Yeah.
That's obviously where I left school early, not to go down a different road, but left school to play golf, which might seem a bit mad now. But yeah, left school to play golf, missed the last last year of school to play in La Manga, went over to La Manga to play, and then obviously in between that as a job I was working for my dad, but also working at the driving range, which used to be at the
Dunes.
The Dunes, that's it. So I worked there for a period of time, and then obviously same again, working for my dad. Got into, when I left golf, which we can go down that road if you wanted to, but when I left golf, I started going and got into the gym like how most people do. Wasn't really happy with how I looked. A couple of my mates went and they were like, do you want to go to the gym? Went to the gym, and then from there I got hooked, and then started to see, cut a long story short, started to see changes quite quick. Got asked by a gentleman called Joe Walker to do my first bodybuilding show. Dieted, did my first bodybuilding show, and then the rest is history. It was a bit of an addiction, bit of it hooked me like it does most people. But I also, same again without going into too much, found something that for the first time I loved, and that something, because I wasn't like the cleverest or brightest kid in school, dyslexic, always struggled in school with weight as well. So hopefully that can relate to some people how they perceive me now.
Yeah.
We can go and I'll answer that and we'll go down that road.
I think that's absolutely massive, especially for my audience. Like obviously I work generally with Gen Pop, and Gen Pop would look at your gym, they would look at you, they look at me. A lot of the time when I've built a community is because people look at me and they just can't relate with regards to discipline. And I always say what you need to remember is anybody that gets up and goes to the gym every day or trains in any kind of serious way, and I say this and it's no disrespect to people, but generally they're a failed athlete.
Yep.
They're overweight and got bullied or at least picked on in some sort, or they're obsessed with superheroes.
Yeah.
Like one of them, every single person I've met who's trained is one of them three people.
Yeah, from what I experienced as well. And I think that's what hooked me. It was just being that kid in school who I wouldn't get changed in changing rooms. I always had, like the man boobs, if whatever you want to call them. and very, very. I wouldn't say I was like I said, a fat. I wouldn't say I was like massively overweight, but I was just a chubby kid and conscious. And I was always, I wouldn't say it was bullying in like in a knack, because I was always hung around with like the popular kids, but it was just, you at that age you've got most of your friends. Obviously, none of them trained at that point, but you've got the lads what just take the top off. They've got abs. They're into football.
That was me.
Yeah, they're athletic.
Not laughing now, are we? Now we stood there looking like that kid. But that was me. Yeah, that was me. I played football from the age of probably 4. All the way up until getting released. So
yeah,
I always trained like football, but I never, just being lean and having abs was just part of the course. Like, I never concentrated on diet or anything like that. I ate what was put in front of me, but because I trained so much, I was always lean. But then adds into the realms of, again, once you start, I got an apprenticeship in a gym and you start trying to put weight on, you're then at a disadvantage in that world, because actually building muscle come really hard to me, whereas I could get lean quite quickly. So again, it's just for people to recognise that everyone's got their own story, don't they?
Yeah, massively. Like, and obviously, same again, going back, even though I was chubby and stuff like that, but like I said, I was dyslexic, so I struggled in school, struggled to concentrate. So like stuff like maths, English, all the classes, I really, really struggled, and then that led on to me being a bit of a, naughty lad in school, and just not being able to focus, because I always found myself a bit different and embarrassed, like at that age when you have to stand up and read, and I couldn't, I can read now obviously, but I still struggle with spelling. But there was something about sport, no matter what I did. So whether it was cricket, I was always really good at. I was good at whatever sport I did. I was always good at, to some sort of level. I was always above average. So football, I played defence. Rugby, I was really good at rugby. My dad comes from a rugby background.
Very well
He was
respected
a professional rugby player, Kade Kendall. So yeah, that rugby was a big part of my life. Football, cricket, and like I said, the main one was sport. And I always found that individual sports, there was something about my mind and the way I sort of committed myself to something in sport, where I just knew I had something. I always believed. So when I played rugby, I always had in my head, I'm going to play professional rugby. And I was like all in.
Yeah.
And then when I did golf, I was all in. Like, if anyone... if you could talk to anyone who knew me when I played for them years of golf, I mean, like, to the point where I slept on the golf course at one point, and then woke up and play. I'd do a round, I'd go back round, and then if I had a bad game, I'd go back on the driving range. I was addicted to it. And then same with bodybuilding, that was the same, and I think it was just from being sort of not. Feeling like I did in school, I always felt like I got the benefits more from sport, and there was just something sport give me back what I felt like I was missing through them other areas. If that makes sense.
No, it makes total sense. And going back to what you just said there, and I think this is kind of one of the things. I've just done the podcast with my partner this morning, and we've kind of spoke about, obviously, JD training blowing up overnight and what it's took to get it to where it is now as a multiple 6-figure business and stuff like that. And one of the things I said on there, I've always been exactly the same. I've always known deep down I was different to other people, and I had the ability to go all in. And people might be a little bit shocked, but like when JD training first took off, like, I refused to sleep in bed with my missus. Because I was literally just like, do you know what? It's harder to get up when you're warm, when someone's cuddling you, when someone's telling you how great you are. It's harder to get up. So I was like, I'm just not even going to go to bed with her. And it'll be easier to get up and get on. And people look and they're like, you're so extreme. And it's like, I don't feel like that's extreme. I feel like that's trying to make the most of an opportunity. Just on that though, let me just stop you there. Leanne, how does that sound like? Obviously, you've not met Kade. You've trained at his gym. Anyone who comes and visits, obviously, you've just met Kade now. He's rocked up, bodybuilder, nice car. How does that feel like for you? Because obviously, you hear me talk about all the time. Most people that go to the gym every day, either failed athlete, and I say it all the time, they've been overweight as a kid, bullied, or they've kind of obsessed with superheroes.
Well, I relate to the being overweight. I was an overweight kid. I was always...
But how does that air is like what would be classed as a gem pop kind of client? Would you think that of Kade?
No, not at all. well.
And this
No.
is one of the things when I send people down to gyms, or when people meet or talk about people that go to a gym a lot, obviously Cade's the extreme as a bodybuilder, but the people in there will, I believe, and I strongly believe this, especially down there, and especially at any gym that I've ever trained. I've trained at some incredible gyms over the years. Chem's gym up at Whitehaven, Ironworks down at down in Preston, the king of gyms and all that. And anywhere you go, I always say, like, yeah, it's hard getting through the doors, but the people in there, they're going to respect you for wanting to make a change. They're not going to be the people that look at you and judge you. It's the people, essentially, that you maybe work with that'll judge you for eating out of Tupperware or whatever. It's not the people in gyms. So I'm always interested, like, did it surprise you that Kade said that about being, obviously you've only met him now, but being younger and being embarrassed or anything like that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's like I say, I relate to being the overweight kid and feeling different. Like, I felt different in school. Like, I felt as though I had to. Yeah, it's like survival. You just try and blend in, even though you know it's going against your own values and stuff. It's because you know you're trying to survive in school, especially.
Yeah.
And it isn't bullying. I think people are too
No, it
quick
was
to
just
jump on.
mine. When I say it, it was more like the lads who I hung around.
Just
like
lads, innit?
Yeah, just general. You know, there was a little bit. Don't get me wrong. There was a bit where it probably took too far. I would say more embarrassing moments.
Yeah, that's what it is. But it's again, I try not to jump on when people say, oh, like, I think too many people lean into like the story behind it, and I try to not exaggerate anything. I think anyone that's brought up in like a working class environment, there's always going to be some form of bullying or embarrassment, and that's what lads do, and girls as well. Like, it's just like a one-upmanship, innit?
Yeah.
But I think it's good that, especially my audience, obviously you sat there now, obviously, or even go on your social media or anyone I send down there.
Yeah.
It's good for them to get that understanding that you were once embarrassed to take your top off.
Yeah, and, to be fair, I know this might sound stupid to some, even now.
Well,
like, even like it, and we'll go because I know
part of the course, isn't it? The body dysmorphia.
Yeah, we were just talking prior to this, and we're gonna talk about it. But people, if they see my socials, they can see that obviously I get in shape. I have an off season. There's times when, like now, my birthday's in November. And if I'm not competing, which I'm not obviously not competing, but normally the way I structure my years, I normally try and get in shape for summer. So, again, we can talk about that, but I always try and get ready before summer so I can enjoy summer, because once you're in shape, it's easy to maintain rather than diet through summer. I have a nice summer, and then obviously when I go, November's my birthday, so normally November, December are my like 8 weeks or so where I'm just like whatever. Not whatever as in like I just, just say goodbye to all my good habits, what I do. But if I want a chocolate bar, I have a chocolate bar. If I have a few beers, I have some beers. I make sure that them 2 months I just enjoy myself. Yeah. And even more so as it goes on from my birthday up until Christmas, it gets more relaxed. And like now's probably the next couple of weeks, I'm just like, if I want to train, I train. If I don't, I don't. It's like I said, and if I want some food, like the last 3 nights when me and her have been watching a film, I've done I know that sounds stupid to some, but a bag of popcorn and a chocolate bar every night. That's something I don't normally do.
Yeah.
So it's just a time for me to, and I hope people can, you don't have to be locked in all the time.
Well, again, that probably helps my audience quite a lot, because I talk about it all the time. We just said it on your podcast, don't we? In my opinion, like, you should, when someone looks great, they don't always feel good and perform good. So
it's not optimal.
It's not optimal. So it's a physique, and I say it to people all the time. I essentially I'll always, as you know, with a body scan, I'll always get down to single digits at least once or every 2 years or once a year. But then after that, I have kids. Do you know what I mean? And I say to my clients all the time, you should have like a living weight, and this is what we've been speaking to Lena about. You should have a living weight, and then maybe you would have. People call it your Dubai weight. Everyone wants to look and feel good on holiday.
You have your weight. Like I know, like I'm sat at just under 18 stone now. So if you can, it was only a couple of months ago when I was in Dubai and IB. For me to be absolutely pure, it's 16.7, 16.8. For me to be in shape and really good shape, it's 17 stone.
Yeah.
And then obviously fluctuate, but then it's virtually the same for everyone. So if you just diet that one time to get in the true single figures, and we'll talk about how it feels, and so it doesn't matter what coach, this is another route we'll go down, but it doesn't matter what coach you're with, how much you're paying for a diet. When you get into them single figures, there's no way around how you feel. But
Shit.
some people can enjoy it. There is things where I think sometimes people do over diet then once they get in that area, because I do believe once you do get in them single figures, there's a lot more refeeding and higher days you can come across. And I think people they think at that point smalls better, and it's not. So we can go down that route. But for the general sort of guideline, if you get in shape and you're in single figures, and let's say for instance, just use me as an example, if my weight is like 16, if to be like peeled, 16.7, I always say a stone to a stone and a half, you're still gonna be a stone above your leanest weight, to without being too
No, it goes back to Leanne's got on the body scanner this morning, and we've just had that exact conversation, mate. So the last time she came was right at the end of Leanne had, and we'll go a bit into it because you can get your finger in it because we've spoke about it. So Leanne came to me. She's a big journey, get over emotional eating, all this kind of stuff. We did all that. She then came and started working with one-to-one on a lot closer. Studying the nutrition a little bit more, and she wanted to get to a number. And I said to her, "Why do you want to get to this number? It's ridiculous. Like why?" And she just said to me, like we spoke about off camera, I want to get to this number because everything I've ever started, I've never seen it through.
Yeah, and I get that.
Exactly, of course you do. And anyone that's ever done anything in life, it clicks. So I was like, right, okay, but you've dieted for this long, right? We don't normally take you below 1400 because anyone that's tracking general pop,
as in calories.
As in anyone that's.
I don't like to go below.
No, anyone that's tracking generally and is tracking properly, 1400 properly, not pretend, properly. Then it should be enough to get the body fat down. But what I said was, because and this is the coaching model, because you've had this identity of overeating and binging, you identify as that person. We've kind of not fixed it, but we've healed a lot of them wounds. We've now got to a realm where you want to get there. We can drag this on forever, and the chances are you probably will binge, and then you go back to feeling like you are that person that binges. Or we can just get in and we can get out.
Get in and get out.
And literally that's what we did. So we got in. And we got out. But I'm really, really like clear with people when I say, like, for me, I always say I want to be 10 weeks away from abs.
Yeah.
And the thing is, when my community, and I'm very open about it, when my community watch me do that, it looks extreme to them. But I say to them all the time, what you need to remember, some of my mates that are from a bodybuilding background, a physique background, they're like, you're fucking still fat. Yeah. So it's understanding.
But definitely not if you're £10. Like I said, if you're lean weight and for anyone, if you're £10, £14, even to a push, depending on body composition, if you're like even £20, you're still going to be. And I know that's hard because if you said to someone you're going to be £14, like 40, I put £14 on, but a lot of that comes. It's not £14 of fat. Yeah. It's the volume within the muscle and glycogen and everything what comes with it. Exactly. Especially if you've done it in a good way.
Yeah, exactly. And this is what this is what I was saying to Leanne before. Leanne's calories, she's back up at 2,000. Do you know? She's back up at 2,000. She feels better. She's pushing better in the gym. She's got more mental clarity, and she gets on the body scanner. Yes, of course, the body fat's going to go up a little bit, but the water's gone up massively. The muscle mass has gone up, and it's about explaining to people like that is what healthy looks like.
Yeah, and it's both ends of the spectrum.
Thank you.
So, if anyone's done a diet, there's a point where it's like, can I use a bodybuilding sort of diet to explain it, if that makes sense? So, if you're on a 16-week diet for a bodybuilding, or you don't even have to do it for a bodybuilding show, but say you're on a 16-week diet, here you're massively overweight, whether you're a lifestyle client or a bodybuilder. If you're a bodybuilder, we all know what. I don't like to feel that, but if you've pushed food way too much, you've got sloppy, you feel like shit. Yeah. If you're a lifestyle client and you're totally out of shape, you're drinking, you're eating takeaways, you feel like shit, yeah? You'll start a diet, and there's like a sweet spot around probably about 7, 8, maybe 9 weeks. You're optimal, you feel fit, clothes feel good, brain's working, everything. I know this sounds, but I might as well say it because it's sex drive. Everything, mate, hormones.
I talk about it quite openly. Yeah. I spoke about it quite openly.
So I'd rather be an open book.
Mate, I spoke about it quite openly, and I said, look, say this all the time, don't I? Like, I've got 4 kids. I'm up through the night. I'm relying on caffeine. I've got a really fucking busy business, and I've took my body fat down at quite a quick rate. Like, it's gone. Your sex drive goes. It is, like you say, like, people have got this facade of, like, what it actually takes. There's that sweet spot, and that's where I say to my clients, I want you to be, once you get there, once we've all got there and you've done the photo and everyone's happy and you've proved it to yourself, I want you to live. I want you to have a living weight where you look good, you feel good, everything's balanced, sex drive,
everything.
of it.
You want to. I think the key word, what we keep saying, is optimal. You want to be optimal, and you want to be. And it depends on what we were saying about goals. I think there's a lot of confusion when people are comparing now, and it's just social media. Like, they'll look at, say, some of my clients what are getting ready for shows, and someone might look at it and say, oh my God, I'm not going with Kade because look what his clients are eating. My clients are eating what they're eating because my lads need to step on stage at 6-7% body fat. So if you come to me and say, Kade, I want to compete at a regional show and I want to qualify for a final, we're going to get, I'm going to show you how to do it. It's not going to be, I say it's not going to be nice. It depends what type of person you are. I always loved it.
You've got to be that.
You've got to love it, but that's like
my audience probably won't know what level you got to. They won't know the fact that you, Ryan Terry, and people like that. Who Ryan Terry's probably alongside Dorian
flew
Yates.
past, and he's flew past us now. But Ryan's someone who we were sponsored with, but
again,
being around them.
Yeah, people won't know the kind of people, because my audience is probably not in tune with that. But people won't know the level you got to. But for you to get to that level, even know them people, you've got to be sick and you've got to love that process.
You've got to, and it's even more so now. Like, how I see it is, one, like we said, we've took something what's so easy, or could be so easy, and made it so complicated. And I think now a lot of people are getting in it for the wrong reasons. Yeah. And I think bodybuilding gets a bit of a bad rep now. It wasn't at one point, but I think it's come back around. Yeah. But trust me, if you can't handle a bodybuilding prep, say you're wanting to be an athlete and you've chose bodybuilding, right? If you can't handle a bodybuilding prep and what it takes, it's extreme, don't get me wrong. But don't even think about going to be a boxer what needs to make weight. Don't think about getting into MMA where you need to make weight. Don't think about any of these things.
Golf,
like any sport, really, to be honest. Like, I'm finding it very sort of upsetting to see some people now what I think have got so much, but they just don't realise what it takes. And it's not being boring. Like, I've had so many people say, oh, kid, why aren't you doing this? What, going out every week? Like so at times, don't get me wrong, everyone knows I love a party, but there's a big section of my life what I sacrificed. And I knew what I needed to do. I know what I needed to achieve. Now, I think you said something before where people say, you're mental. Why would you do that? But then on the flip side of that, I don't want to just be average and I want to achieve this goal. Now, no one's going to do it for me. Yeah. Bodybuilding's a very individual sport. Now, if you want half results and you don't want to get that first place, treat it like half-assed, Miss your cardio, miss your meals, don't take your meals when you go short, like all these little things. But I'm seeing so many people now, especially treat it like bodybuilding's got stages. So you've got your maintenance, you've got off-season, maintenance, then your dieting phase, health phase, off-season. Everyone, depending on where they're at in their off-season, everyone's giving it the big licks, getting the pictures strong in their off-season, right? But when they're in their off-season, they want to diet, right? So then they start dieting. Then they realise what it takes. Then they don't want to diet no more. They want to go into an off-season. But then it's same if they do manage to get to a show, they're always looking for that next stage. Yeah. But what I find is the off-season they'll do quite happily because you can, you're eating, you're lifting. But as soon as you go into a dieting phase, then the complaints start. Oh, why can I not do this? Can I not do that? Well, you can, but you've asked to, you've got a goal, so commit yourself for 16 weeks. And the best one and the one what I find the most worst to understand, and I can't understand why. So they listen to you for a full 16 weeks. And the complaints come, I'm doing a lot, I'm tired, I can't do this and I can't do that. And they do a show and then you're like, right, now we're coming out of a show. Now this is probably the most important part, is the health phase. Making sure we're coming out of a diet, and getting some body fat on in a reasonable percentage rate, not going too sloppy. But girls need to come out quicker than lads.
Yeah.
But they, like I said, they listen to you, and then all of a sudden, they just don't listen. And then you tell them till you're blue in the face, especially like lads, and they'll be like, you know, take the evening off after the show, but then, you know, the next day get up, get some movement, maybe have a meal off, and then just, you know, increase your carbs a bit. This is in simple terms. I would put it more detailed on someone's plan.
Yeah.
But they just basically go, whatever, I've been dieting for 16 weeks, whatever. Next minute, they go, boom, 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 boom. And it's like, kid, I can't shut my hands. Kid, I've got cankles. Kid, you know. So coming out of every phase is just as important, because if you have a productive off-season, that'll lead into a productive prep. If you have a productive prep, that'll, you know, lead into a productive, or it should do.
Yeah.
And so on.
It's exactly the same with Gen Pop. So it's exactly the same with Gen Pop. I sit people down when they come to work with me, and Leanne will testify to this, and I always say to them, what is the goal? Give me a goal. What is the goal? What's the number? Because then you can go, okay, well, I'm going to be working with you for 16 weeks, yeah? So to get to that goal, you have to lose 1 pound a week.
Yep.
Do you understand what that looks like? Let's have a look at your numbers. Let's have a look at your steps. Let's have a look at your calorie burn. Let's have a look at your food. So to do that, you've got to do X, Y, Z.
Yep.
And then they get in and they're like, Joe, like, it's too tight. It's like, remember, I never, and I had to learn this as a young coach, is when I had a client that was really good, and you'll know the same, like, you go over there, stand on your head, they'll stand on their head.
Yep.
I used to push them. And then quite quickly I learned, like, this isn't about me, it's about them.
Yeah.
And I learned that quite young, like, and then I had to, this is why I always go back to clients and I say, right, what do you actually want? What do you want over what time scale? Because that will determine the inputs I need from you. If you want to lose £0.5 pound a week, we'll lose £0.5 pound.
Yeah.
That'll look like X, Y, Z. You can be a bit more relaxed. You can eat out. If you want to lose £2 a week and you're going away in like 8 weeks,
you need to understand
that ain't going to look pretty. Yeah. It's not going to look like it does for £0.5 pound. So you have to understand that. But going back to what you say as well is people will moan when they're in a deficit. Then when they come out of the deficit, they're scared of putting weight on, so they want to go back into a deficit. And then they end up being in this realm of the deficit sometimes, then they're not in a deficit sometimes, and they never gain any muscle and they never get any leaner. And it is just trying to explain to clients, enjoy where you're at.
You've got to. I think that's in life as well. Without being in too, you know, going too deep, but you've got to be present, and you've got to be present in the moment you're in, because what I find more so than ever, that's I think one of the issues. People aren't being present in the moment, and they're always wishing that it was the next step, but then it's the next step, and then it's like you're always chasing. So it's like if you're chasing that amount of money, you're going to get to that, and then you're going to chase to that. If you're chasing that type of business, and then if you're always chasing, you've got to know your goals, you've got to know your purpose, and you've got to understand the journey of what it entails. Don't try and fast forward it. You know, you can't rewind it. So be present, and just whatever it is, whether it's obviously a diet or whether it's, you know, financially, you've got to understand it's a process and it's graft.
Yeah. And again, going back, it makes me sound like I know everything, doesn't it, Leanne? So going back to Leanne's podcast, so Leanne did exactly the same. And one of the times when me and Leanne bumped heads is she came out of that, she'd lost all this weight, she'd got down to where she wanted to get to, and we reversed out of it, and she just wanted goals. I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to... And I said, look, just stop. Yeah. You are now the person you've been trying to create for however many years. Enjoy it. Yeah. Go out and wear the dress. Go out on a night out. Go out and take your kids out. Have a relaxed meal with your kids, because this is what you've always wanted. If you just keep going, what will happen, I've seen it many a times, and you've probably seen it as a coach, they'll go next goal, next goal, next goal. 2 years later, you're the twat because you've pushed them to do all that and they've never been happy.
Yeah. And on the other side of that as well, not really on the other side, it's like, the reason why I was smiling is because same again, over the probably last 2 years, this is one of the biggest issues what I'm coming across, and it's the goal. It's the goals, right? So, like, I started when I was 22, so my first bodybuilding show. Prior to that, I was training for 2 years. Then I did a first bodybuilding show. My first, 2-3 years, didn't even place. Didn't even place, because obviously from where the physique I was. Now, muscle takes time to build.
We'll get into that in a second.
Yeah. And it's a journey, and it takes work and commitment and discipline. But I knew the goal. But what I find now is it's like when they've done a show, or they've done something what they're focused on. It's almost like they're clutching onto it, and when that's gone and that bubble's popped, it's like, oh, what's the point now? It's like, what's the point? Well, I've got no goal. Well, no, you're wrong. That's just a byproduct of what you've done for them 16 weeks. If your goal's bodybuilding ain't about it, unless it's something, you've got, you just wanted to do it once in a lifetime and just say you've done it. But let's do it on a normal term. If you're getting into bodybuilding, where most people are now in some gyms, they're saying they're bodybuilders, they're an athlete, they want to compete as a bodybuilder. So why, after you've just done your first show, now you haven't got another show, why ain't you got a goal? Because the goal, you're getting it really wrong, because the goal is the person who's looking at you next morning when it looks in you in the mirror. Now, if you haven't placed, or even if you've come first, that's your first bodybuilding show, so it's only going to be a regional show or some local show. So is that your goal? Because the goal is then to work on yourself, work on, your training, your nutrition, you're building your physique, building muscle, learning where, even if you had won a show, you can guarantee there's a lot of things to still work on.
Yeah. Well, that's the beauty of, I always say this, the beauty of training is, but again, it's what puts people off. It's never done.
No.
It's never ever done.
It's never done. And that's going, I think we're in a similar, like, you're never done. I'm not done. Like, I always said, like, I wanted to do my personal training. Did that, right, what's next? I wanted to own a gym, right, I did that, right, I want 500 members, right, no matter what it was, whether it's, same when I started bodybuilding, I wanted to be I started at 11 stone. My heaviest I ever got up to was 22 stone in my off-season. But the point being, and that wasn't a good 22 stone, by the way, but that was the heaviest I ever got. So 11 stone I started, my best ever look was, I think I was like 16 stone 8 on stage, but that's quite big, like
that's
field.
Big.
Yeah. So if you can imagine 11 stone, so however much that is, of muscle put on that frame. So, these things where you've got, where they're just fixated on one goal, you're absolutely deluded, because you can't have that mindset. Yeah. And plus, you're always going to be chasing, or not even so much chasing. It's just you're never satisfied.
No.
I don't care what, like...
No, and we've spoke about often, haven't we? I've come to you for advice about the bar, and I'll show you that in a bit, and stuff like that. And it's, we always say the same, don't you? Enjoy the process.
Yeah.
It's the person you become through that process. It's the things you achieve. It's the people you impact.
Yeah.
It's not just, if it was about the money, it's not about the money. It's not about the goal. It's about the person you become doing that.
Well, same again, like the money side of things. It's so the show's a byproduct of being committed to bodybuilding and eating 6-7 times a day, doing your cardio, practicing on your posing. The competing is a byproduct, and if you come first, second, or third, and hopefully you come first, that's as a byproduct of competing. So business, if you're not enjoying what you're doing,
what's the point?
And it's the grind, and it's the day in, it's the day out, it's the early mornings, it's the late nights. If you're not enjoying the grind, the money's just a byproduct. And what I find is the more you enjoy something, the more you're committed to it. And let's face it, the enjoyment needs to be there.
Yeah.
Same as if you're dieting or whatever, otherwise you're going to pull the plug. Everything, the business will come, the people will come, and the money will come. But you shouldn't be doing it for that reason.
And if you are, you're going to be disappointed.
You're going to be disappointed, and you're not going to be the person what wants to walk into your business, because you won't have the right attitude if you're focused on money.
Exactly. How do you feel about that, Leanne? Hearing that with regards to goals, because obviously you come out, didn't you? You come out of your dieting phase, let's call it. You got to the goal, and then you were desperate. And I said to you back then, like, stop chasing the high and instead enjoy it. Like Kade said, you go, right, let's get some food inside you now. Let's get back to enjoying training, because training isn't good when you get down to levels of body fat where it's not fun. Let's get back to that. So how does that resonate with you now?
I think a lot of it is, I had to get to that goal, but like when I got there, I think I still had an element of distrust in myself. That's why I kept pushing for another goal out here.
What else would you say played into that? I know what it was, and we've spoke about it many times. What else would you say played into it?
What does not like being present and stuff?
Just TikTok, wasn't it? Just
Yeah.
these
Comparison.
comparison syndrome and the power of social media.
I'm like for social media, I'm like the most easily influenced.
Yeah, and we used to.
But don't think that like that's everyone now.
It's all of us.
Like you said before the pod, there's just so much. It was bad when I was coming out of it. It's bad now, but I would hate to be the kid, 22, and then move me to now, because your head's going. You watching, Sorry, I'm gonna let you finish because I'm gonna go down another route then with training. But don't feel bad for doing that.
Yeah, no, and it's not bad. But again, I always say like, and again, I've been in and around all different kinds of people my whole life, and you've got to recognise, same as I said to you, and this is open. We've spoken about it off when Leanne was like, I might do a photo shoot. So I was like, you might, okay, we can deal with that. And she went, and then we were talking potentially bikini. And I was like, look, I'm telling you now, if you go to that realm, that's not my realm. I will pass you on to Kade, but I'll pass you on to Kade because I know Kade cares about people.
Yeah.
He's got a track record with females and males, but mainly with females. And he's got an unbelievable track record. And also, you've got to know it. I know my game inside out.
It's because women are harder than men. Men can't handle.
And I just wouldn't do it as well. Like that isn't my skill set. I've been in and around it. I know every bit of it. I can talk about it, but I've never done it. There's a big difference between talking about. I can talk about like refeeds. I can talk about pushing carbs in, but I've never watched it on someone. I've never watched the physique. I've never watched like, oh well, there might be spilling here. I know all the terminology. I could go online and pretend to. Do you know? I could, and I've got the connections as well. I know loads of people.
Yeah.
But I would never, because I would put you in the hands of someone that kind of cares and someone that knows how to do what they're doing. But it just goes back to the realm of, and I say it all the time, is people think like, they're always like, oh, you're just like putting other coaches down. It's like, I don't put coaches down. There's a select few coaches that I will say, this guy's brilliant, this guy's brilliant, this girl's brilliant. But what you have now on social media is people talking about something that they're just regurgitating off ChatGPT. Or, again, this happens a lot as well in the industries, and I say it all the time, and that's why I don't really post about my training. The only reason I did the old body fat thing, it shouldn't be hard to me to get 9% body fat. It shouldn't. Do you know what I mean? I'm borderline autistic with it. I can do it, but it shouldn't mean anything to my clients because, again, my job as a coach, I'm not an athlete. I'm not an influencer. My job as a coach is to do that for clients that are struggling. Take someone that feels stuck into the best shape of their life. It isn't about me. Yeah. I only did it obviously to advertise the InBody and show the metrics, and people were interested. But again, it just kind of, that was the thing, wasn't it? You was kind of watching social media, watching other girls, listening to other girls talk about hormones and all this kind of thing, and kind of letting that get inside your head rather than focusing on you.
Yeah, and that's it. And if you spend only a couple of seconds on a particular post or a reel or something, it just keeps feeding you that in your algorithm. So I was just getting battered with it all the time, and then I was getting into the comparison loops. And,
which are massive.
Yeah, and these girls, a lot of these girls I was comparing myself to, they were in these posed positions, even though they kind of had like similar body types.
Posed positions are these things now what you can do with.
But even and I think they're bad. Pose positions.
Enhancing.
We all do it. Do you know what I mean?
Or they're enhancing the.
Or they're enhancing.
That's a bad one. That's done a lot in.
But do you know what I think's actually worse than all that, Kade? To be honest, and you'll probably resonate with this, is people that, and I'm not picking out certain sports, but let's say high rocks, let's say reformer Pilates, let's say Pilates. All these things now where you see these women that are in incredible shape, and they're in incredible shape. But what they fail to tell people is they've been weight training for 10 years.
Yeah, like when you look at anything, you could say again, going back to the golf, tennis, swimming, anything. It's either hypertrophy training or strength training. It's normally a combination of both. Yeah. And then same again, the byproduct of that is obviously the add-ons, what they do. Now, don't get me wrong, the high rocks, and I'll admit it now, I own a gym, they train their nuts off. You know, they're good. They train hard. But there'll be a section where they'll focus on high rocks, so like say wall balls, sled pushes and stuff, what incorporates in that. But they all do strength training, they all do hypertrophy training.
And if you look at anyone, and I don't want to call people out in your gym, but if you look at, there's people in your gym that essentially will be really good at high rocks,
Yep.
will take the top off,
Yep.
and they haven't got a physique.
Yep.
And then you've got people in your gym that are really good at high rocks,
Yep.
will take the top off, or
Yep.
they'll be in the Gymshark set or whatever, and they're in incredible shape.
Yep.
But where I think that kind of loses its authenticity is when then people are going online and saying, train like me, look like me, and they're just leaving the fact out that they've trained for 10 years of hypertrophy training.
Yeah, and I think that's with even some of the stuff now, like going back a little bit to what we were on about with how things, where I think a lot of things in fitness are going wrong now, is things that it's become fashionable. Exercises have become fashionable. Like, I own a gym now, and I don't see, hardly, there's a few, but benching, squatting, dumbbell work, barbell work, the amount of people strapped to cables with cuffs and I say that lightly because I know lads at a very high level what are doing it, and this is just connecting to what you were just saying. So they're following, I'm not going to say any names because I'm not about that and calling people out, but they're watching a very advanced, and I mean a strong word meaning advanced lifter, strapped to cables with cuffs on, doing more, normally it's shoulder work or chest work, or even a lot of back work now as well. And someone who's just a newbie to training are watching all these, I'm like, oh my God, look at him, I want to be like him, and they're strapped to this cable. And I walk in and I've got machines, we've paid £1,000 on this, they're turning it into something like, I'm like, what the hell are you doing here? And they're using it in a total different way.
But it's the same thing, isn't it? Like, and I'm not saying that individual.
But they're missing.
Yeah, they're missing.
So if you went to that person, just had sat down like we are now and said, oh, how did you get here? You've probably, let's say, that 10 years prior to the cuff work they're doing now, 10, 15, sometimes even 20 years, they've benched.
Heavy dumbbell work.
Like
heavy
rows, like dumbbell work, squatting, like all the basic principles of lifting. And this isn't me being old. This is
No, it's not.
This is that if you looked at going into depth how the body works, and I know people might argue if they're seeing this and they're like, oh well, the lat connects it to your kid and all this stuff, and you know what I mean.
But again, I spend a lot of time with these guys, and I say this to these guys, and Leanne will probably tell you, she's like, I want to do this exercise, and we've had arguments on it, haven't we? And I'm like, you're not doing it. Because it comes down to, and again, I'm saying exactly the same as what you're saying. It's like, what you need to remember is these people that you're putting on a pedestal, and sometimes you're doing it, they're not doing it, and rightfully so. Like, you are. Like, they've weight trained and done hypertrophy training for the best part of 10 years.
Yeah.
And when someone's gone through a dieting phase, especially when they're Gen Pop and they go through that, I was like, you don't even know tempo.
Yeah.
You don't know mind to muscle connection.
Yeah.
It's like, and I'm the first to admit it. I'm a decent squatter, I'm a decent bencher,
Yep.
and I'm a decent deadlifter.
Yep.
But do you know what? When I go back to training hypertrophy, I can't even contract my bicep anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, I can hammer curl like 25s like this, but I'm not touching my bicep.
Yep.
So again, that's because I haven't learnt the skill. So if I wanted to, and I say to you all the time, I say to everyone there, once I get to 50, I'm going to bash in that much gear and go to K for 2 years, and I'm going to do a bodybuilding show. Sure. I am, because I want to see what my body's capable of, and I will do it and I will be that novelty. In, once, out. Yeah, no messing about. I just want to do it just to test myself.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of it, it's a skill, isn't it?
It's a skill. It's a mind muscle connection, and that's the things what everyone's focusing on now is like the stuff what they shouldn't, like. So like the nutrition side of things, obviously to the recovery, the supplementation, but the training. But when I say training, the one what they're missing, and you don't have to pay out for, is the intensity. The intensity behind everything. Like I'm seeing lads go in and I've probably done half a session and they're still doing a cuff lateral. Like, they're still there. They'll do it. They'll do a cuff lateral, and then they're stood there for 2 minutes because it's not optimal to go back into the set, and they need to, you know. It's just crazy. It is mental. And
this is one of the reasons that I've got you on, because, again, you're going to hold that authority, yeah? You've got an incredible amount of muscle. You're going to hold that authority. And I say to my clients all the time, like, the people that are getting to that stage, like, they've come out of a dieting phase, we're putting the calories in, and they're like, right, I want to build some muscle. And they're talking about all these kind of negative step-ups, all these glute bridges, all this. And I'm like, look, all you need is the basics. You need to know mind to muscle connection.
Yeah.
You need to look at how you're using the exercise. You have to look at tempo as well. And then you have to look at training with intent. The amount of people, online clients that have come up here and trained with me, and they've just don't know, they can't train with intent.
Yeah, intent. So it's like as well, like, so another thing where people are going as well, it's like same again. It's the following like the favorite person online. So say for instance, we'll just use a big name. What I'm hoping some bit Chris Bumstead.
Yeah,
right.
massive name. Yeah,
Chris Bumstead in the classic physique champion, absolutely extraordinary bodybuilder, right? Freak of nature. Now, there's so many people, don't get me wrong, I've done it in the past myself, but I'm telling you, it's the wrong thing to do. And from my mistakes as well. They'll see his training plan and they're like, that's what Chris Bumstead does. I'm going to do that. Why? Everything's sport specific should be individual to you and your needs and your physique, especially when it comes to your body.
Yeah.
So the beauty, what I fell in love with is don't copy someone's plan because that's not for you, as in even if it's diet or training. You've got to look and think, you know, you pick your physique apart and, you know, I've always used the term and a lot of people do is you're an artist, you know, your body's a canvas and you're using the tools in the gym for the paintbrushes and you're adding in, obviously it's like you've got to create it. So if you've got massive shoulders, big side delts, why are you doing side laterals 2-3 times a week? And you've got to know your purpose, know why you're doing that exercise and what it's for, and understand what you're doing. Don't just copy what your favourite influencer's doing.
Yeah.
You know, and if you're with a coach, they should be able to tell you that. But even if you're not with a coach, you should, you know get to know the basic exercises, know how to execute them properly, get stronger within them compound movements. And the things what we're talking about, like the cuffs, and when you start looking at all the little things, that's not till you're like way advanced.
Yeah.
You know, when you can start manipulating things.
Yeah, 100%. And like, obviously, my highest qualification, and not that I use it much, is sports therapy.
Yep.
So it's all anatomy based.
Yep.
And people are literally saying, right, well, what I want you to do is I'm going to take hold of you. That's the old one, innit? I want you to pull it down. I want you to pull into your back pocket.
Okay.
And it's like everyone's different. Everyone's got different lever lengths.
Levers, yep.
Same as with squatting. Someone will watch someone squatting and say they're squatting wrong. Why are they squatting wrong? Well, they're leaning forward.
Ankle mobility and
it's like the femur length.
Yep.
The femur, I'm short. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the femur length might be double the size.
Yeah.
So again, then we go progressive overload. People are like, yeah, I want to do back squats. Okay, why do you want to do back squats?
Yeah.
Oh, well, because I've seen so-and-so doing it online. It's like, well, if you're doing progressive overload, we're working on time under tension, we're looking at how you execute it, we're looking at intent. If you're doing all of that, you're probably going to get injured on a back squat. Because right now, it's not that back squats are bad for you, but right now you don't have the experience.
Go into a hack squat or pendulum squat.
Exactly. Yeah. Get yourself into a hack squat, get yourself into a pendulum squat. Let's work really hard in there because it's obviously got a set movement pattern.
Yeah.
You're less likely of getting injured. You'll know what it feels like to work hard. And then when we put you back into a squat, absolutely fine because you'll know what it feels like.
Yeah, and that's the same thing. So you've got to find, going back to what I was saying, with going off what you're saying there, is finding exercises what you connect to.
Yeah.
So if
massive.
If Chris Bumstead's doing inclined Smith press on a Smith machine and you're not feeling it, don't do it. You go and do dumbbell incline, or you do, another form of incline press. Yeah. Do what because it's the same again. It all comes down to body mechanics and how your body moves and your body plane. So going back to the squats, people obviously, I think the same again. The squat, and I love squats. I was. Same again, old school. We didn't, hack squats weren't really they've become more, and they are, I do believe
plate
now,
loaded
they're a lot more optimal than a back squat. Well, a lot safer as well.
Plate loaded has become a lot more popular now than it's ever been.
But when it comes to, I find a lot of the problem when it comes to squatting, not just about long length, so if someone's really tall, but ankle mobility. Yeah. How many times do you see people going in, even in a hack squat, they're going down and they'll push and it's either got too much weight on, the feet are in the wrong position, or what I find is because their ankle, they're lifting the heel up and pushing from the toe. So you've got to really look, and if that's what you're doing, that's why I always say a pendulum squat for a newbie is where I would start, and I would go from pendulum to hack to then. So if you do pendulum perfect, and then you go into a hack squat, and everything's you're pushing from your heels, your feet are solid, you're strong, everything feels good. Then you could try a barbell squat,
Yeah.
free weight squat.
And for like my clientele watching this, we start way before that. We go body weight.
Yeah.
We go body weight squat. We go goblet squat at home,
Yeah.
front loaded, so they can drop it if they need to.
Yeah.
Then we go like plate loaded. We go on the back, and then we go all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
What would you think hearing that, Leanne? Because obviously we're going through this stage now, aren't we? Where we literally, you've been through the dieting. We focus so much on that. Like a lot of my clients, they're like, I want to focus on this, and I'm like, listen, let's get you to where you want to be first. Get the body fat off, and then we'll time for that. So with Leanne now, it's a lot of like filming exercise selection, looking at, like you've just said, breaking down how someone performs a movement and stuff like that. So hearing that now compared to obviously probably what you hear wider on TikTok or Instagram, what's your thoughts now on that?
Well, I do see a lot online where you'll get even like coaches arguing amongst themselves about what's more optimal. Is it a back squat or is it being on a plate loaded like angled leg press or something like? My back squat, I could do like 50 kilos, but my angled leg press I can do 240. But then you've got coaches saying, but if you can't do a back squat, that doesn't count. I'm like, why doesn't that?
Yeah, that's nonsense, because a back squat's totally different to a leg press. You're going to be able to load a leg press up a lot different to a back squat.
And also,
so it's confusing. But then when like sometimes I would have like gone against what you've said and just I started adding in more glute exercise, and then you get that overload with that. I mean, the exercise that you have to do in your session, and you start getting exhausted. You're like, oh, can't you ask?
Yeah.
And you just disengage because you're like,
100%.
It's just too overloading. Whereas like now I'm on 1-to-1 and I do, we've got it all bespoke for me. I do, on the group program and stuff like that, Joe had me doing fucking workouts and stuff, which nobody likes, and burpees and stuff like that. But now it's all stuff that I like doing, and I really enjoy my sessions.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, and
we come back down to the same thing. And Kade's pressed on it here a lot, and hopefully a lot of my, especially the one-to-one clients, will resonate with it. The one thing that frustrates a lot of my clients is I always put the onus is back on them. What is the goal? How can a coach say the back squat, that if you can't back squat, that don't count? It's like, well, what's the goal? Yeah. So what you're telling me is if Kade don't back squat, he's shit at building muscle.
Yeah.
He's clearly not. Do you know, it comes back to like, what is the goal? I say to clients all the time, like, what is your goal? Depending on what your goal is, should then determine by your nutrition, should then determine by the amount of calories you have, should determine your training program, that how many times you train, depends on what your goal is. And I always go back to see people, even with high rocks now, people seem to like go work on your weakness. Don't just practice high rocks. What is your goal? And that's something I'll be discussing on the next one. Is like, what is your goal? I want to get better on the rower. Cool. Right, let's get a program that's designed to get you better on the rower. But you've got to always be like Kade said, and just come back to it so many times. And a lot of my audience will be like, maybe Joe's right. It's got to be goal specific. What do you want out of this? Do you want to look good? Do you want to feel good? Do you want to be strong? Do you want to perform better? What is the goal?
And you've got to be honest with yourself. You've got to be really honest with yourself. So even like when we'll just use the high rocks for an example. If you do a high rocks, and most people are doing the times, and they look and they'll see which sections of the course where they weren't slow in. So say they were crap on the row and they crap on the wall balls, but then they come out of that and they don't take that data and work on the row and the wall balls, and they just carry on doing the full plan like they were doing, giving it all equal attention. Everything's going to improve, but so your wall balls might improve and your rowing might improve, but you need to section them off, give them more focus and give them less. So it's the same with the physique. You've got to be really honest with your goals and what you're wanting to achieve, and put things into place to achieve the goal.
100%. So, Leanne, you've just gone through a whole transformation. We're getting to the stage now where obviously we're increasing your calories, we're looking at building muscle. Kate's probably the perfect person. What do you think the questions would be from you or from the community members? And we'll kind of get Kate's take on it over the last 5 minutes before we finish off.
Right.
Oh, here we go. She's always prepared, Leanne.
Drum roll.
So, so as Joe's mentioned, I'm like kind of looking at maybe doing a photo shoot, maybe like that'd be like my first kind of goal, I suppose. So it's just a kind of an idea of how long like the build phase would be, and then like the cut
after
phase.
it, or the build phase.
How long you would be in like a build phase for?
Yeah, so am I right in thinking you're going to go into a build phase and then come into
So what we've just done, gone through it's been years, but we've gone through dealing with emotional eating, all that kind of stuff, dieted right down to a certain number, get abs, got abs, didn't you? You got abs. Then we've just gone through reverse diet,
Perfect.
We've got the calories up to 2,000, and it's probably only now we're getting into that realm of like, right, we've got enough fuel. We understand the workout. We're going to build enough intensity. Let's build some muscle. So she's probably saying, to see a difference in physique, how long would you want to build muscle?
To build muscle,
Yeah.
as a natural athlete,
Yeah.
I said 12 months at minimum.
Right.
12 months minimum, and that's being on.
Wow.
So stop there. So one of the things I talk about all the time, and this is where I do have a lot of respect for bodybuilders, is I always talk about people losing body fat is the easy part. People that have never done it before, Gen Pop, Slimming World kind of clients, they don't never believe that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, building muscle is so hard. I get females that are like, oh, I'm getting a bit bulky. It's like, trust me, you're not. Like, you don't build muscle by accident.
No.
You've got to sleep right, train right, eat right, recover right.
It's even like the favourite one is, I've put, they've been training they've been bulking for 6 weeks, and the weight, and it's like, but it'll be muscle. It's not muscle.
Well, again, you can resonate with this, and again, if your PT is telling you you have been working with them for longer than 3 weeks and you haven't dropped any body fat and you haven't dropped on the scales, and they're telling you it's because you're growing muscle quicker than you're burning fat, they're lying to you.
And your calories and your output ain't in the right place.
Yeah. So how does that feel like you hearing that it's going to take? Because that's probably what I would have told you, wouldn't it? And
yeah.
how does that feel like? Does it give you a realistic expectation?
And that isn't with me. When I say on, that isn't saying you can't, because you're in an off-season setting. Do you know
Gen
what I mean?
Pop, yeah, we don't really do.
So that's what I mean. So Gen Pop. So that was in bodybuilding terms. But that means you can still go out with the girls. But I just mean, if that's your goal, to get the most out of it, and to be like, yes, I did it, and to get the best outcome and to achieve it and be worth it, I think, would be 12 months solid work. Go back to looking at your pictures, looking at your stills, thinking what you can work on. Having someone like Joe saying, right, we need more quad, we need more back, we need and so on. Set your calories, set your training, set your output, set your obviously your supplementation. Work on that, know when to push and know when to maybe just pull back a bit, push and pull back. Obviously, if you've just done the phases like Joe's explained, where you've dieted, got abs, and you come out of a health phase, the main thing what I can't stress enough is keeping that insulin sensitivity all along them 12 months. The minute that goes, you're just going to put fat on, you'll feel like crap, and so just keep the body optimal, keep the right amount of fuel. And that's where someone like Joe's knowledge comes in. You don't want to be underfueled, but then we don't want to be underfueled, and making sure that your food is being optimal for the results and the outcome.
Yeah, and you're good at that. So you are very good. You're very consistent. Obviously, we had the chocolate cake this week, but that's what he's talking about there.
Yeah, I was going to say, it was my daughter's birthday on Tuesday, and I'd made this cake where it was like 1,500 calories a slice, right?
Yeah.
Joe was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But it's not.
I put 3 pound on, didn't I? And you were like, I've never seen that happen. You like, what's happened here? And I was like, I swear to God, I've logged everything.
Yeah, but that's because
So is that because my body's really sensitive now?
Yeah, but it's also because as well, it goes back to it's not that the calories are wrong, but if you're trying to build muscle, what a waste of fuel. Like if what a waste of fuel that is. Do you know, like if you're gonna have 1,500 calories, imagine you had 1,500 calories. No, but it's not even about feeling great. It's not. Yes, you're not gonna feel great, but also if you're trying to build muscle, there's better ways we can use that fuel.
So that I'll just touch I'll touch quickly, and because I think it's quite important to state for your clients as well. So it all same. I think we've mentioned it a lot in the podcast. Like it's goal specific, right? Okay, now if someone came to me, I don't care what anybody says, no matter what coach or anyone, food timing and nutrient timing is very important when you're. And
I'll stop you there because I've spoke about this a lot on the Sunday calls. Is obviously I'm not assisted, and it was a conversation I had with you literally as I was 4 weeks left of a 9-week diet, getting down to single figure, and I was losing. Remember I've spoke about it a lot on the call, and it was a conversation you said about how are you doing your carbs? Are you doing them pre and post workout? And I was like, nah, I'm just putting them in. And I went away and I thought about. Obviously, I knew that knowledge, but in my head I was just like, do you know what? I'm not assisted. What does it really matter? And I promise you, I put them in, like you said, exactly where you said as well,
Yeah.
pre and post.
Yeah.
And my muscle mass stayed a lot more level on the body scanner all the way through. And I spoke about that, didn't I, on the transfer, when I've spoken to you guys about it.
So I'll try and explain it from two ways. So the reason, so say you've got an athlete, could be golf, football, rugby, bodybuilding, whatever. If you're someone who trains, like even just goes to the gym in general, whether you've got sport, your food and diet should be tailored towards that goal and that sport. How you eat as a bodybuilder will be different how you eat to a high rocks to a certain extent. Obviously, we have protein, fats, and carbs, but how they vary,
Timing,
could be different. Now, if someone is just a lifestyle client and they say they don't train, right? They don't train, they just want to lose weight. It really is calories in to calories out. So, for an example, if a lifestyle client, and I'm just going to do an extreme version to try and simplify it to make people understand. Say they've got 1,500 calories to eat. You've set the calories, you've set the output, and they just need to eat 1,500 calories and they'll drop 1 to 2 pounds a week. Now, if that 1,500 calories came from a mac chicken sandwich, a yogurt and a biscuit, for an example, brilliant. By the end of the week, if they eat that every day, they're going to lose weight. Now, you cannot sit and argue with me, like, if you did any sport, if you just had a mac chicken sandwich, a biscuit, packet of crisps, and then try to do what you're supposed to do within that day, or train how you're supposed to train, run how you're supposed to run, do a high rocks like you're just not going to do it. Yeah. It's just not going to do it. And it all comes down to, obviously, there's another route you can go down as well, is just how you look and how your physique looks.
Yeah.
It might be the same calories, but 1,500 calories from a mac chicken sandwich, a packet of crisps and a biscuit is going to look different with salmon, sweet potato, rice, chicken, oats, whey protein, the list can go on. But...
And again, for mine that are Gen Pop, that's exactly what I get across. It's like, this is why losing body fat is the easiest phase. You just have to be in a calorie deficit.
Yeah.
But when you get into physique, body composition, building muscle, and hold on to muscle, it then starts coming into food quality, food timing, sleep, training intensity. There's so many different variables. So again, for Leanne right now, that's her understanding is now like, look, if you are just saying, I want to just maintain this weight and have a good lifestyle, crack on. But if you want to take building your physique seriously, of course I'm going to kick off about 1,500 calorie.
Yeah.
Do you know, it's not that I'm harsher on some people than others. It comes back to the same thing, which is, what is the goal? Yeah,
what is the goal and what's the purpose? Yeah. Definitely.
So what
we did touch a little bit on my last week of that diet, didn't we? Where you were like, it's not about just calories in, calories out. Yeah, I want your carbs around.
But but it is not. It isn't now.
So
but
you only touched a little bit.
Yeah.
But I started to understand like what.
But for
what
Gen Pop that are watching, that are my clients, it is. They need to get them base levels of calories in, calories out before they even start thinking of nutrition timing or supplementation or training intensity or training biomechanics, and they just need to get this bit right first.
Because you got to think, you got to get that bit. So it's like levels in it.
Yeah.
And same again, but. You've got to also, like, a good, and Joe will be able to obviously explain this, and he will do, everyone, like, having your calories from processed food and stuff like that, even just hormonal balance, how you feel, gut health, we can go down all that route as well. Do you know what I mean? But it's just, when you're looking at food, you've got to, protein, obviously they have different but the main role is protein, recovery, for muscle tissue. You're looking at carbs for your energy source. Obviously, I know fats do play a role in energy. If the carbs come too, your body can start using fats for energy as well. But basically, it's muscle for recovery, carbohydrates for energy, and fats for obviously hormone health and stuff like that. So it's very important if you're wanting to build muscle to perform as an athlete or to
feel at your
best, perform at your best, to train. It's very important that the macronutrients come from, and don't forget them, all these macronutrients, so your protein, carbs and fats, you know, and getting the right sources of fruit in and vegetables, you know.
So again, it comes to that pyramid, doesn't it? Calories in, calories out.
Yep.
And this is what I speak a lot with clients is you've got energy balance here.
Yep.
You then got macronutrients.
Yep.
You've then got micronutrients.
Yep.
And then you've got supplements, and I suppose in the realm of bodybuilding, assistance, if that's what you want to call
the
them.
same again. Use the word supplement, and that's how you should. Don't rely on supplements, because I would much rather get my what I'm trying to get from more supplements from food.
100%.
There's a few exceptions, like creatine. I think creatine is one of the most underrated supplements there is for a natural athlete, but it has become a lot more popular now, because it's, you know, same again, it's just a trend and someone's done it and then everyone's followed suit. But we were doing that back, you know, that's like, it's one of the most trialed and tested. But as in for
supplements were kind of brought in, weren't they? Because bodybuilders were sick of eating.
Yeah.
But now it's seen as like the norm. Like, and I'm not saying it shouldn't be the norm, but I'm just saying that if you're predetermined, you like eating food. Hence, people that overeat, they like eating food.
Yeah.
Why would you then go into 1,500 calories and use supplementation? Because then you're not going to have much food, because you're using supplementation.
Yeah.
You're going to feel like you're going without food. I say to these all the time, like, if you got 1,500 calories, get rid of all the yogurts, get rid of all that, and get it through food, because you're gonna crave it.
Well, yeah. So touching, it's a very strong point what you've just said, but how I can relate to that is going back to when we first said, there's so many people like, why are you eating that? Why are you doing that? So someone on my plan getting a bodybuilder, they've got to understand, right? So take me for an example. An off-season setting, I just have a certain amount of protein, carbs, and fats. Right now, I sort of look at my diet, and it can come from wherever. But when you're on, say, let's just say 3,000, 3,500, I was up to like 6,000 calories. The lower them calories go, obviously we're wanting a diet to be sustainable. We want it, you not to crave. We're wanting not to, you know, give up and just say, oh, to hell with it and go and eat the fridge. So the higher the food goes, we want more calorie dense food in order, so we're not eating. So if you were on 4,000, 5,000 calories and all it was coming from was turkey, rice, oats, you would be sat there with a you know, food
The
like
volume,
that all day.
yeah, the food volume would be massive,
ridiculous.
Wouldn't it? Yeah.
But as the calories come down, then we find little tricks. So it's like, oh, I'm not going on. Have you seen kids who are on diets? Look how plain their food is. But you've got to understand, I'm not doing that to be harsh. I'm doing that so they get more food. So we use calorie less food. So same again, rice, a lot of vegetables and stuff like that. So in this setting, you'll see a little bit of veg, and you know, but you'll see more pastas and maybe sushi rice, where sushi rice is more calorie dense than basmati rice. So that there's little tricks we can use in order to create how you feel here as long as possible into this phase here.
Well, I get the opposite. So again, I get the opposite. So what I get is people that have only ever been in a diet phase. They don't know anything else. Nope. And then I give them 2,900 calories and they're having egg whites. I'm like, what are you doing? Eat the eggs.
If I seen someone do that, I'd be like,
get the eggs. Why are you having everything's low calorie? Do you know, it's like you're always going for things because it's low calorie. Get some really calorie dense foods in there. I'm not saying go and eat ice cream.
But you're just chucking like that. To me, I've always been, even when I dieted, like I was lucky enough to be, I was always took under the wing of Joe Walker, which was he's very, very knowledgeable when it comes to food. So from day one, I was always looked upon when I was dieting have you seen what kids dieting on? They were all like, they were eating like fish and rice cakes, and I was eating like salmon, steak. They couldn't get their heads around it.
He's from here. He's from here.
Joe's right.
No, not Joe. Fish and rice cake. You laughed then with the fish and rice cake.
He's
from here. He's from Barrow.
He's
from Barrow. It's the same era of you, Mike Ray, who's Mike Ray who does Lobo now.
So they were eating all these like, you know, turkey and potato, like really plain, nothing on it. But the macro, and then same again. I was always taught, you know, like the for gut health, for clarity, for hormone balance, we need these macronutrients to create a setting to still be optimal.
Yeah.
And I think that's why, obviously, you know, I looked the way I did, and I always looked fit and healthy, and my blood work's always been good in that respect. But going back to what we were on about.
It's not about people having low calorie food, even when in a higher calorie kind of setting.
Yeah. So like when you get to that like low, like seeing people chuck the most valuable part of the egg out, what comes with
mad.
all the nutrients within
Mad.
it, is beyond me. Obviously, you know, if your calories are really that low and you're 2 weeks out from a bodybuilding
course.
show, but any lifestyle client should not be chucking the yolk away.
Well, I found this with coming out with reverse diet and you do.
It's one of the things I would keep saying to you, and it's stop having the lower calorie food all the time.
Yeah, that needs to.
Then you kind of like, well, I have more freedom of food here, so I'm going to start adding a bit more shitty food, like, you know, like processed stuff.
But
and
that's
like, that doesn't actually.
But that's fine. Yeah, but that's fine. Again, we go back to goal specific.
Yeah.
For the average person that just wanted to get into a size 8 dress, let's say, like you've just got into a size 8 dress, whatever, that's fine.
Yeah.
They can, because that's lifestyle.
Yeah.
But once you start getting into the realm of going, actually, I might want to do a photo shoot. Well, what do you want to see the difference? The difference between your physique now and then is going to be, it's not going to be the body fat, it's going to be the amount of muscle. Well, welcome to the game of building muscle. And it is now about the quality inputs. You won't get away with just putting processed food in. So we'll go to the next question. So you've just said there, Leanne, about starvation mode and metabolism's broken, all that. Go on, Kade, I'll let you answer that.
So ask me again, so then we know where we're at.
We were just talking about like how some coaches will say, you know, they'll lean in on, you know, people saying, oh, well, I was on like 1,400 calories and I was in starvation mode.
So then they stopped dropping.
So they ended up putting the calories up, and then they're like, oh yeah, I'm dropping loads of fat now. So it's,
Yeah, I think that comes more from an energy sort of standpoint.
100%. Yeah, mental reset.
Mental reset. So what I normally find with a client, I'm not a big believer. People might argue with me to say them again. I'm not a big believer in the metabolism slow down, so I've stopped. Sometimes the leaner you get, got to understand. So say someone's 20 pound overweight. The first week or two, they start a diet, they'll drop like 5 pounds, 6 pounds, sometimes even more. The leaner you get, and I mean the extreme side of a bodybuilding show, it's the last 2 weeks where it'll be an absolute nightmare to get the last little bit around your lower back.
Yeah.
And it isn't because the body, my metabolism slowed down, but what I find can occur is stress. And when I say stress, that can be an adaptation from cardio, your cardio being too high, your training being maybe too intense for that period of time depending on where your calories are, and maybe just stress, as in like relationship, kids at home, massive. Work, everything. So you've got all these stresses, which is cortisone release, and we can, that's another route. But what I find is, instead of I won't give someone a cheat meal to like, oh yeah, there's a cheat meal. I might give someone a bit of a high day. I have done cheat meals depending on certain clients, because certain clients can get away with it.
It's different clients.
There's a certain client I'm working with at the minute. His physique is unbelievable, and the guy, what he can put away. So he needs a bit more calorie dense food in order for it to do what I need it to do. But what I find is it's not the metabolism. It's giving someone maybe just backing off, say, the cardio, maybe giving them an extra day rest.
Yeah.
And saying, right, go out with the family, go and have a day out. And what I find is just pulling the output back, resting them up a little bit. Steps. I use steps now. Gets that body going again. When your body is in a stress state, same again from either training, cardio, relationship, work, that's when I find when these mechanisms are high and that they're out of sync is when the body stops working with you, because it's in a stress state, because it's not getting calories anyway. It's not getting the amount of calories for it to be efficient to just to do general stuff.
Yeah.
But you're then asking it to do steps. You're asking it to train. You're still like when you were dieting. You look at the guy's a machine, but he still did it. But you're on a certain amount of calories, and you're asking it to do your body, and not just your body, your mind.
It's your mind. This is why I don't diet. It's one of the things I said quite open with my clients about is what you've got to remember is like everything drops. Your output drops. Your
Yeah.
enthusiasm drops. In and around. The kids drop.
Yeah.
Your enthusiasm for business. If you're doing long hours, you need that clarity. You need that energy.
Yeah.
It's not a good idea. And this is why I say I'll do it when I'm 50.
Yeah.
When I'm 50, I'll have a good go at it when the kids are a little bit older, because I understand this. I've been in and around enough people to respect the game.
Yeah.
I understand what happens.
Yeah.
One last question then, Leanne. What have you got on your list?
So to answer that, what I would say would be to, instead of thinking that your metabolism slowed down, just look at the principles of what you've been doing. So your cardio, your training, and obviously your external stress, whether it be work or relationships or kids or whatever you've got going on. If you find that you've hit a plateau, you're ticking all the boxes, you're doing everything on your plan where you should be dropping weight, I can almost guarantee if you just say you're on 15,000 steps, you drop it to 10. You say on 15,000 calories, for one day you might go to 1,700 or 1,800.
Yeah.
Or just have a meal out with family, but be mindful, and just have an extra day off that week. I can almost guarantee the following week you'll see a drop.
Whereas I'd just come in, because I work with General Pop, and say it's compliance. Just do what it says on the tin. And it'll come off.
Yeah, but it should do. But yeah, if you
Go on, Leanne. Last question.
So another one is cardio different to your steps?
Oh, don't get him going.
I'll just be honest.
This is a sore subject. This has got Kade going.
Oh God. I've been waiting for this question.
So again, let's get it into context here. When we're talking Gen Pop, I'm talking someone that's inactive.
No, I'll be honest. No, I'll be true. Yeah,
But
I won't answer it like yeah.
No, I want you to answer both. So talk about Gen Pop and then talk about athlete.
Right, yeah. So if you're doing general public, and obviously I work with general public, I use steps as a tool, not for fat burner, but say for instance, someone comes over me, I'll just say BE, and they work in BE, they're sat at a desk all day, they're not really doing much, and it's because obviously when you send out a questionnaire, you get all this information. Yeah. Where I would start people off, because let's face it, that person, whether it be a male or female, is probably very unfit, not used to it, because same again, they've come to you, it's the first time because they're a lifestyle client. Yeah. I would then say, right, 10,000 steps to start with as a rule of thumb. And then if they can then commit to that, then after a period, you don't up that step count every single week. They need to obviously do it for, say, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. See how the body's responding to the food, the steps, and then you can increase it. At the end of the day, it's output. So it is what it is. But there is something, and this all goes to the calculation of people calculating food and making sure that they're calculating right. Like, where just say for instance you're just stood in your kitchen and you're moving and you're just cooking, it's adding up them steps as well. I just don't see it. I don't see it. I like the thought of saying someone coming to me and saying, Kade, I've done 10,000 steps, and they're a lot more active than what they were. So when someone's gone from doing nothing to doing 10,000 steps, yeah, they're going to drop weight. But same again, I think it all comes down to the goals and what they're coming to me for. Yeah. And what I find is it's same again. I think this all comes back to the same sort of, it's very goal specific, and you've got to look at a person and their metabolism and their body type and their structure. So I always say this, or even about food. The real, you can pick up a nutrient and they should say like, you should have this amount of grams per pound of body weight of protein, carbs and fats. Now that's fine, use that as a guideline, but it is that is a guideline, because you can't tell me that person should definitely have because of their body weight, because I've got lads what can take on 600-700 grams of carbs every day and not put up, and they've just got that type of metabolism. One being like my brother, he's like that, but someone like myself who's got a very slow metabolism. So I set the food, and then you just adjust. So it's the same as the cardio. You set your baseline depending on, you've got to take them very individual. But someone who's just, what's the word you said for Gen Pop?
Gen Pop.
Yeah. going from no movement to 10,000 steps with your calories in the right spot, you're going to see an adaptation and you're going to see progress and you're going to see weight drop.
Yeah, and again, for me, that the thing is about it becomes borderline lazy coaching as well, because we know that 10,000 steps for the average person at the average weight is about 500 calories. We know that it's about 500 calorie deficit a day for a pound loss per week, and that's where the 10,000 steps. And I'll agree. I think like it come from social media. Again, if I've got a client recently, Liz, shout out to Liz. Liz has got her head together this year and done incredible. She's lost a pound a week, but she does about 6,000 steps. But that means we adjust the food. Like, she's not going to do any more steps. She's got a busy life. She's always commuting. And she says, I'm not going to go out and do it. So rather than say, oh, you can't achieve fat loss, we just go, well, I'll tell you what then, you're not going to do as many steps. We'll give you less calories, because it's the same input, output.
Yeah, if you're a gen pop, like I do believe, like you are going to get in shape, just a matter of the timing, making sure that, you know, your timing's right.
But again, it comes down to, doesn't it, putting the emphasis back onto the client and saying, well, if you don't want to do any cardio, your loss is going to be a lot, your rate of loss is going to be a lot less.
Yeah, and plus then you're going to have to start eating like a rabbit. So I'd rather move more.
Exactly.
I'd rather move more.
And then compliance stops.
And you're definitely going to lose weight doing steps, The only thing with the only reason why I think, but the reason why I've come from an old school sort of background with bodybuilding, but it's more probably going back to even like the exercise when we were on about the cable thing. Some of these lads and top lads now what are just saying they do steps. You got to understand most of them what are getting in shape just off steps. And I mean, when I say in shape, I don't mean just losing weight. I mean getting in shape for a bodybuilding show. 15 stone, 16 stone of solid muscle, and them just walking, just around the block, your body's
burning calories. It's using
because
fuel,
your body, obviously, the more muscle you carry, the more energy expenditure.
And again, it goes back to that goal specific. If you've got someone that wants to be a bodybuilder, they want to look a certain way, they want to present a certain way. But then if you want someone who's going to go to jiu-jitsu, all that muscle is going to potentially hold you back when it comes to your energy.
Yeah, and like going back to the step thing, it's just, if you're a newbie, so like you said, Gen Pop, so if someone comes to me and they're a newbie bodybuilder and they're carrying this, they've just come out of school and might be going at 18, and they're carrying still a bit of this, body fat, like soft, like puppy fat, whatever you want to call it. I just can't say, like, it would take a hell, and I mean a very, very harsh cut to just do it off steps and a very long prep, and that's when we start going into the territory of pulling the plug, energy being on its absolute,
and that's where it leads to non-compliance.
So it's not that steps are I'm not saying steps are a bad thing, but it's just very person specific.
I think the whole thing to come out of all this is none of it's a bad thing.
No,
one of the things that I say, especially with the one-to-one clients, is we're tracking all kinds. So we're tracking menstrual cycle, we're tracking training intensity, we're tracking sets, reps, the weight used, we're tracking calories, we're tracking macros, we're tracking them when we're talking to them where the mindset's at. And all these data points allowed you to make a decision as a coach.
There's no bad training plan. There's no bad diet plan as such. It's not. There's more than, it's like I've always used it, if you look at, say, from a bodybuilding point of view as well, if there was a perfect diet and a perfect training plan, you get 10 of the top bodybuilders in the world stood in front of you, men and female, every single one of them would tell you a different training plan, a different training split, a different diet, different food groups, but at the end of the day, as in for the food, it's all, they're eating the calories with the intent and the purpose for the goal. And when it comes to the training, the only thing what 10 of them will have in common at a top level is the intent and the intensity behind what they're doing.
Yeah,
that's
100%. Right, guys, thank you so much for listening. Hopefully you got something from that. Kade has got a wealth of experience, and I think the best thing to take from that is Kade doesn't like taking his top off, so he's not going to embarrass me. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time. I said this to Kade the other week. I said, I said to you in the gym the other week, you want to fucking get your clothes off more often. Even when he goes to Dubai, if I look like him, I'd be fucking like that. Every interview, I'd be fucking like that on every